On today's lesson, we're going to talk about finding the optimal speed for your rally ball. And speed is a very important element of your normal everyday ground stroke. And hitting fast can be a weapon for sure, but it's not the end all be all. So Alcaraz and Sinner are the two best players in the world. And yes, they do hit faster than the average pro, but they are certainly not the fastest. The world rankings do not just go by who has the fastest forehand and backhand. There are many, many other elements that go into being great. And so the analogy that I want to use today is driving with a speed limit. So when I go home to see my parents, the speed limit on the interstate is 70 miles an hour. Now I'll set my cruise control at 79. Now you might think I'm a very slow driver, but I set it there because I want to get home as fast as possible without getting in trouble. And when I'm driving, trouble would be getting in an accident or getting pulled over by a cop. I know that at 9 miles over the speed limit, there's a very, 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 very small chance that a cop would ever pull me over. What I see club level players and 4.5s and 4.0s doing is they're hitting their ground stroke the equivalent of driving 90 or 95 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit zone. So could you get away with it sometimes? Absolutely. But over the course of a 4-hour match or a 4-hour drive home, you are probably going to get pulled over by a cop and maybe threatening getting in an accident. So you want to go as fast as you can without getting in trouble. Now, to take that driving analogy even farther, not every day is the same. So yes, generally speaking, I go 79 into 70. But let's say I'm on a stretch of highway where there's no trees, so I can see miles ahead. I can see there's no cops. The weather is perfect and there's no cars around. I might go 85 or 90 in that 70-mile-an-hour zone. Hopefully there are no cops watching and I get in trouble for admitting that. But in that certain situation, I'll go faster because I'm going as fast as I can without getting in trouble. And if you come in a match and your strokes feel amazing and your opponent is giving you a ball you love and the weather conditions are perfect or you're indoors and things just feel great, by all means, go a little faster than you usually do as long as you're not getting in trouble. And just to define trouble with missing, we know you're always going to miss. It's missing a lot and it's missing early in the rallies. So everybody misses about 1 every 3 points. That's fairly normal. But if you're missing 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 4, we need to slow it down. On the flip side, if the conditions aren't great, let's say it's pouring rain, it's 2 a.m., it's pitch black, I can't see out of my windshield, I don't just go, well, I usually drive 79 miles an hour to 70, so this is just what I'm going to do. I would probably be driving like 25 or 30 miles an hour. And again, you have to adjust when you're playing. If it's windy, if it's a court you don't like, if your opponent's giving you a ball that you absolutely hate, you can't be stubborn and just say, well, I usually drive 79, so here's what I'm going to do. You're also going to have to adjust. And again, applying that principle of I'm going to go as fast as I can as long as I'm not getting in trouble. So let's talk about how we can use that speed to force more errors. And generally speaking, it's not just going to be, well, the faster we hit, the more errors we can force. Hitting fast will force errors, but also hitting slow. And so one of my favorite things that we used to do at Duke, a pattern that gave us so many errors, you would not believe it, was our guys would come out and in the normal rally ground stroke, they'd hit 2 fast and then they'd hit 1 slow. And you would be stunned how often people miss the slow ball because they stopped moving their feet. It was a change of rhythm, and then they overhit it because it's an easier shot. And so this is just something to keep in mind. The change of pace is usually what forces the error, not just one speed done. So if you hit slow every time, that's not very difficult. But on the same hand, if you hit fast every time, that also, your person gets used to that. They start to time it, and that's also pretty easy for them. So the change of speed, and you want to think of yourself like a pitcher. I mean, the best pitchers in baseball have a pitch called a changeup, where they intentionally throw slower than they're capable because they're getting their opponent off balance and they're not expecting that slower pitch. So I'm going to play a clip from Jessica Pegula. She came on my podcast again this year. For those of you that don't know, I grew up with Jessie. I lived with her from age 7 to 12. So obviously, like, I am her super fan. But I saw her play from the beginning, one of the hardest workers, one of the most thoughtful players. And these are her thoughts on how fast she's hitting her rally ground stroke on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, it's definitely not 10 out of 10. If I was trying to hit as hard as I could, like, no, I honestly don't think I'm ever doing that. Um, I think like top players compared to players or beginners or lower ranked players, whatever. Yeah, I think that it's like finding your rally ball is really important. And that's something I see sometimes even with Taylor, my husband. It's like it's like pushing the ball or it's like a Mach 50. And I'm like, you need to get a rally ball because you need to be able to find the ball or a feeling where you feel like you can hit it 20 times in a row, but like good 20 times in a row, like where you're being aggressive, but you're moving the ball, but you're still able to kind of do it over and over again. And that's, yeah, that's really difficult. But I'm never hitting, yeah, I'm maybe a 6, 7. I also think I use people's pace pretty well. I think my timing is also good. So I never feel like I'm like straining myself, like, muscling the ball. I don't think I've ever felt like that, but I think that's just my game too. Like mine, I am a lot of timing. How do I find on a day to day basis? It's honestly on, I think, feel, and yeah, if you're feeling really good, and you go for your shots. But again, I don't think I've ever like 10 out of 10 like hitting as hard as I can, unless it's like I'm getting killed and I'm pissed or something happened and I just like slap the ball, which you see people do sometimes or pros do sometimes. But I think it's just, yeah, it's all, I mean, you learn your rally ball, I think, in practice. You kind of have an idea. And then you just try and do the same thing when you're in a match. And if you're feeling it, you go for a little bit more. Maybe you try and take it a little bit earlier. You try to be a little more aggressive, like with your feet and stuff like that. And then if you're not feeling it, then maybe you take a couple steps back and you're like, I'm not seeing the ball today. I need a little bit more time to kind of. I just need to hit, you love hard up the middle. We always talk about hard up the middle till I find like my timing. Because there's definitely days where you're not feeling it, or you're hitting the ball late, or something's just not working. So I think you try to give yourself a little bit more time. I would say maybe taking a step or two back, and just trying to work on your margins. But yeah, if you're feeling it, then for me, I'm usually trying to step in more, change direction a little bit more, like come in, be more aggressive. Um, just because I think if your brain's kind of processing, you're seeing it quicker and faster, then you're, yeah, trying to play it quicker and faster.
So hopefully this gives you something to think about the speed of your shot. And if you don't like the current speed of your rally ball, how fast you can go without getting in trouble, then you've got to go out with your coach, work on your technique, and hit hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of ground strokes so you can slowly add a couple miles an hour to that rally ball without getting in trouble. So use this driving analogy as a simple way to gauge how you're doing, make more ground strokes, be more efficient, and win more matches.